Welcome back to On the Tee with H&B. I'm DJ Jones, Major Haversham's Lieutenant for Social Media, and today we're kicking off this episode with a salute to our latest field reports from the forces. If you are traveling on an H&B expedition, or just happen to find yourself on a course across the pond, tag us anytime at Haversham Baker across social media. We love seeing your field reports, and you just might see it on an upcoming episode of On the Tee. This week we are heading to the Highlands of Scotland and the Brora Golf Club. Brora is one of those places that's a little off the well-worn path, but the golfer who makes the journey just north of Royal Dornoch is rewarded with an experience unlike anything else the game of golf has to offer. I recently sat down with Tony Gill, the club secretary, and James Macbeath, the head greenkeeper, to find out how it is Brora manages to steal the heart of so many golfers. We hope you enjoy the listen. Well, Tony, James, welcome to On the Tee with H&B. I was going to start by asking how things were looking out on the links, but based on your Instagram post this morning, I'd say they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, we've the golf course has wintered quite well. We just had we didn't have too harsh a winter, so we get more frosts now than we get snow. So things have come out of the winter well, and we look forward to the season.
Well, as we mentioned in the lead-in, you're up in the Highlands of Scotland. For those who may be unfamiliar, give us the 101, if you will, on Brora.
Yeah, well, we're kind of unique in a way that obviously we share the golf course with our local crofters. I don't know if many people know that there was sheep and cattle here before there was a golf course. So we've got to share that, and it's unique in a way. There's not many golf courses that have sheep and cattle on it, but we try and keep it in good condition. So we have fences around the greens that protects not only the greens but our surrounds, so we can manage the traffic quite well. They'll get an experience of a golf course that was golf courses as they were 125, 30 years ago. Our bunkers are kind of naturalised by the sheep and the cattle going into them on the fairways, surround the rafts. But inside the fences, we revet our bunkers and the surrounds. And it's a unique challenge. You find your ball, it's reasonably wide open. Find your ball, and you can sort of get around in 3.5 hours. And generally we get a lot of repeat business as well.
Well, you're right. For the average golfer coming across the pond, the sight of sheep and cattle grazing the links is certainly not something we're accustomed to. For the person in your job, what challenges or maybe even advantages does that arrangement bring to the table?
Yeah, well, advantages I find very difficult to see if there's any advantages having sheep and cattle on the course. So obviously, visitors that come and play here see it as something they don't normally see, so they're taking pictures and photographs and stuff. But from a greenkeeping point of view, it can be a negative because the damage they can do on the golf course through the year. But it's just something we have to deal with, and we have dealt with since sheep and cattle have been there. So yeah, it's unique in its way, and because they were here first, it's obviously the laws are complicated in Scotland, and it's very difficult to maybe get them off the land, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, there's a historic grazing right, Daniel, that's held by a number of people to graze their livestock on the land that we share with them.
Well, Tony, shifting to you, you wear a lot of hats being in the club secretary's chair, but in addition to that, you also serve as secretary for the James Braid Society. Tell us a little about Mr. Braid and his connection to the club.
Yeah, James Braid was born down in Fife in Scotland, not far from St Andrews, Ely. Actually, a lot of your viewers will probably have heard of Ely down in Fife. So he was born there. He won 5 Open Championships and went on to become probably the most prolific course designer in the UK. having designed or at least had a hand in over 400 courses in this country. He is predominantly in this country because he was afraid of flying, and he suffered from seasickness quite badly as well, apparently, so was never very keen on going outside the country. So he used to get on the train, travel up to the courses he was seeing, and walk round. Apparently, he never took a measure or anything. He just paced everything. Would walk round them and then go back home and do his design and submit it to the club. And his connection with Brora is that the club was founded in 1891, but in 1923 we invited Braid to come and look at the design and offer a redesign, which he did. He visited in 1924, sent us plans sort of a couple of weeks later and a covering letter, and the plan was largely implemented. Actually, if you look at the plan, there's little bits that we maybe didn't do, a bunker here and there and that, but pretty well all the green sites are where Braid envisaged them, and it remains pretty much the same to this day. So we've moved the odd tee and that. The demands of modern golf often require a little bit of lengthening, but as much as possible, we try and keep it as true to Braid's design as possible. And as far as the James Braid Society goes, that was an idea from a few people, one of whom, Steve Toon, who's, I think he was at Sunningdale, but has just recently taken up an appointment as member secretary at the R&A Golf Club. I think he knew Peter Thompson from his time at the Duke's Club. And between Peter, Steve, and the local hotelier, Robert Powell, they thought it would be a good idea to form a society to remember Braid and his contribution to golf architecture, much like there's a Donald Ross Society out in the States. So we just meet a few times a year, play a bit of golf, drink a few whiskies, and remember Mr. Braid and his contribution to golf architecture.
Well, and those contributions were certainly many. I just finished reading a course called Scotland by Tom Coyne. Brora features nicely in the book, but at some point Tom jokes that after he finished his playing career, Mr. Braid must have never slept given the number of golf courses that he designed.
And obviously a number of very well-known courses like the Kings and the Queens at Glen Eagles, Carnoustie, are three that spring immediately to mind, but I'm sure there's a lot of others as well.
Well, shifting back to the links, you're roughly 30 minutes north of Royal Dornoch, and of course Dornoch is the main attraction that draws so many golfers to the Highlands each year. But those who make that little extra journey to come and see Brora almost always come away singing its praises. You two know the place as well as anyone. What is it about Brora that manages to capture the heart of so many golfers?
It's interesting, Daniel, here. You'll get two slightly different perspectives because James is Brora born and bred. And whilst he worked down at the Carnegie Club just down the road for a short time before he came back here, obviously very familiar with Brora. I was born down in London, first visited here just over 30 years ago, 1986. And kind of fell in love with the place then. So for me, it was, the golf course itself is pretty special. The setting of the golf course is very special. There's just something particularly eye-catching about the way the course sits between the hills and the sea and the bay sweeping round and everything, and that's quite magical. And then for me, the other thing was the people here. From when I first came, I've had friends here for 30 odd years because everybody was so friendly and welcoming when I first came up here to visit and experience the course and that. So obviously I try and maintain that welcome for people who come to see us now. Hopefully I go some way towards the hospitality of the local Scots, but whether I'll ever quite aspire to that, I don't know.
Yeah, adding to that, I mean, it's difficult. Tony's touched on it. I've lived here all my life, so it's kind of one of those things that I'm used to it. I see it every day. So, the views are spectacular. The ambiance when you come into the car park is really good. But because I'm seeing it every day and I work on it every day, it's very difficult for me to see it from a visitor's point of view. But what I will say is, what is really good is we have a set of par threes with four par threes that point a different part of the compass. So there's one east, one north, one west, one south. They can play completely different from day to day. The club selection can change within five clubs, six clubs. You could be hitting wedge to one iron driver, just with the winds that we get from different directions. And yeah, Dornoch's just down the road. It's a fantastic golf course, a championship golf course. If you've got a very good golfer and you want to test yourself, Royal Dornoch's the place to go. If you're a visitor, you want to enjoy your game, you want to find your ball, you want to get round there, possibly have a second round in the day, have spectacular views, and play in a reasonably good condition golf course. I suggest Brora's right up in the top courses around for that.
Well, this year, a record number of the H&B forces are heading your way. What kind of experience and welcome can they expect when they arrive?
Yeah, I mean, as I touched on it earlier, the ambiance as you come into the car park, as soon as you park up, you look out at the sea and hills, and the golf course is right there. It's in your face when you come into the car park. So, as soon as you come into the car park, you want to play golf. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Our staff in the shop, our professional and assistant, are very, very welcoming in there. Um, our members, to be perfectly honest, are renowned for, even once you come in from playing golf, for being very friendly. Um, and the golf course itself, the staff on the golf course, look after you. I think it's something that no visitor I know anyway has gone away and said that they didn't have a good experience or a nice welcome when they came here. So I don't know, is there anything more you can add to that?
Yeah, we're a reasonably well known now, but relatively small club in the Highlands of Scotland, pretty remote. We're not a big high end club, all singing, all dancing, and 37 people to look after your every need. But you will feel genuine warmth when you come here, and we genuinely are pleased to see people who come and want to experience Brora Golf Course and Brora Golf Club. We are pleased to see you. And hopefully, if it's your first visit, hopefully you'll enjoy it and come back and see us again. So.
Well, when I think back to my first visit to Brora, one of the things that comes to mind is practically sprinting down the hill to the first tee and losing control of my trolley in the process as it barreled down the hill in front of me. But, there's a lot of highlights around the course. What are the moments in your mind that the first-time visitor should be looking for on their trip around the links?
I think one of the, as you just said, I think the view from the car park and getting down to the first tee, the view from the car park wants to make you get out on the golf course, and then you play the first hole, which is a relatively gentle opening hole, as you no doubt know. Although it does have its challenges, particularly the green. But then the view from the second tee, you really, I can't imagine you can get a tee much closer to a beach than that. And so the view from there right down the beach and the golf course laid out in front of you and sort of seeing where you're going to get to, that's pretty spectacular, I think.
Yeah, to add to that, we have one of the par threes. I know I touched on the par threes earlier, but one of the par threes has a burn. I don't know, maybe you guys call it a creek or whatever. We have one of them that snakes around the green and round by the 14th tee and in front of the 13th tee. So it's It's only 108 yards from the yellows and it's 125 from the whites, but it can be a very, very dangerous hole. But the biggest highlight for me would be the finishing hole when I've seen so many, including myself on this, in the hollow at the 18th, and I've seen cards just wrecked. I've seen grown men cry, where you've been down in the hole, you put it through the back, over another hollow, then you're back through again. It's heavily bunkered. It's 201 yards carry. And I'm not trying to put people off coming here, but it is a particularly tough finish, Brora, and I know it more than anybody because I've played here all my life. But if you haven't scored by the time you've gone on the 15th tee, then you're not scoring over the next four holes, because 15, 17, and 18 are right up there with some of the toughest holes that I've ever played.
You're right, it's an exceptional finish and a couple great par fours to help cap the round. But then on the 18th, you left out an important detail in that all of that is taking place with the clubhouse directly behind the green and all of the watchful eyes as you struggle to get the ball into the hole.
You get that feeling that they want you to leave it down there. And to be perfect, 93% of the people are still down there. By the way, what did you score at the 18th?
Well, I managed to make a 4 there. I got the ball on top, but failed to get down in 2 for par. But what's funny is you mentioned the 13th earlier, all of 110 yards or so, and I made a 5 there with a 9-iron in my hand. So
that's the thing, isn't it? It's 120 yards, and it's you're going, this should be easy. And then no, we've all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
But 18 with that big false front on, and it can just be brutal.
Well, once the pain of the 18th is done and you find yourself inside the clubhouse, what do you order? What's the Brora specialty, or the drink of choice, if you will, to cap the day?
I would suggest that you grab yourself a Clynelish whiskey, which is one of our it's a local brew. I'd suggest you grab one of them with a little bit of ice in it, sit by the window and reflect.
Well, if that's not the perfect cap to a perfect day, I'm not really sure what is. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to join us, and we're looking forward to plenty of memories made at Brora both this year and in the years to come.
Not at all, and thanks very much to you. Thank you very much.
Daniel, thank you very much.
And a special thanks to Tony and James for joining us today. As usual, the best way to keep up with all things Brora is to give them a follow on their social media channels. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll have another one here for you soon, but until then, we wish you plenty of golf at its finest and life at its best.